Well, a good evening to you this 30th day of June 2017. Thank you for tuning in to KUTV News at 8. My name is Jesse Rogers. I'm in the company of our sign language interpreter, Moses Gitonga. Let's take a look at the stories taking center stage tonight. Laikipia Senator Gigi Kariuki is dead. Last-minute rush as Kenyans rush to file returns as they struggle to beat the deadline. Pen put to paper finally as doctors sign long-awaited CBA. Jubilee pitch camp in Ukambani region as NASA moved to Migori region. Welcome to the bulletin. We'll be joined briefly by presidential candidate who's an independent candidate, Professor Michael Wainaina, where we will talk about his aspirations to lead the country come the August 8th general elections. Now, the Maasai are one of the most insolvent tribes in East Africa. As a principled and noble people, they have proudly maintained their traditional way of life and cultural identity in spite of forces of the modern world. However, greatest number of the Maasai girls face many obstacles to get education. The hurdles are utmost related to the high level of early pregnancy and poverty. Nancy Ochido with this report.
Research of 2011 by the Pastoral Women Council, Partner Community Aid and Small Enterprises Consultancy found that morants are mainly commissioned by community elders to get young girls pregnant, hence they are forced to drop out of school. The Maasai communities, however, are presently more aware of the significance of education and are slowly becoming more motivated to take a number of their children to school. One of the Maasai ladies that is presently fighting greatly for the good of the Maasai girl child is Mary Tomoina Supet. She completed her primary and secondary education at AIC Girls and Moi Girls High School Senior, respectively. Currently, she is finalizing her diploma studies in broadcast journalism at the Kenya Institute of Mass Communication.
You find they are married off when they are young. They don't know how to take care of children, to bring up a family, to take care of their families. So I said, because my parents took me to school and I managed to come to this far, let me also help them where I can.
In the year 2015, Supet discovered an initiative dubbed SMALA, that is Strong Maasai Ladies Association.
My main thing why I came up with this is that to help our society, to bring up ladies who can lead not only in their families but in the whole country, the whole world.
As the founder of the program, she ensures that she meets with the stakeholders of SMALA at least after every 3 months to discuss on the development of the plan. She narrates how she managed her studies and the program.
So I decided that each holiday as SMALA we go and equip them with knowledge. We look for those ladies who are learned and those who can model them so they can speak to them.
On the same note, the initiative partly advocates for termination of female genital mutilation in the community, which is a major cause of early pregnancy. Once a girl undergoes FGM, she considers herself mature and a woman enough to bear children.
Not our main aim, but we also discourage circumcision of. We also discourage female genital mutilation.
During the meetings, Supet, together with her fellow ladies and some elder women, distribute sanitary towels to the girls and purchase for them some refreshments. However, the major challenges that they encounter include transportation and enough money to print out the posters for meetings.
We don't have any support from anyone. Sometimes it's so hard for us because the little pocket money that we are given, some money we have to set apart for smaller.
Early pregnancy in the Maasai community is considered disgrace of the highest order and also reduce bride price during marriage. Nancy Uchido, KUTV.
Well, that's a comprehensive report by Nancy Ochido, especially since it touches on the girl child and the importance of actually schooling the girl child and avoiding FGM. Well, we move on. We'll have, as I mentioned earlier when we started the bulletin, we'll be hosting a presidential candidate who's known as Professor Michael Wainaina. He's an independent candidate vying for the presidential position in the August 8th general election. He'll be here to tell us why Kenyans should vote for him, what new changes or policies he has for Kenyans, and he's gone on record saying he's actually forcing or pushing for the youth and women in this country to be given the top priority since they're the future of this great country. We'll be back with the interview, so do stay with us. Michael Wainaina, who's an independent presidential candidate. But apart from that, he's an academic and educational innovator and entrepreneur with over 23 years career experience in university education. Might I mention, he's a former literature lecturer at Kenyatta University. So this makes this interview very special, if I may say so. So thank you so much for coming to KUTV studios. We are happy you're here.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here. Couldn't be happier.
Yeah. I'm sure you're reminiscing your days back then in Kenyatta University.
Yes. And a lot has changed. A lot has changed. And by the time I retired in 2013, a lot had changed. And it's continued to change. But I've seen the journey of Kenyatta University become the Kenyatta University of today. It's been an exciting journey to be a part of. And for me to be back here, yes, absolutely nostalgic.
Awesome. So one might argue, let's go to the present day right now. One might argue your enthusiasm with the youth and women might actually hail from interacting with young people in Kenyatta University. Hugely. Why do you actually focus on youth and women?
Because that's it. We cannot talk about development and progress in a country where 70% is youth and over 50% is women, and yet these demographics are systematically marginalized and omitted from the equation when we are talking about development. The only thing we can be sure with that kind of structure is that development and progress will not happen. Because once you marginalize a large population, and you not only marginalize a large population, you marginalize a large population of the most productive demographics in your population, then the only guarantee that you have is that you're not going to develop and you're not going to progress. So for me, I have asked the question, is it possible to leapfrog this country from a primitive tribal third world country into a modern first world country in less than a generation? And the answer is yes, we can. But to do that, we would have to inspire and invest in a new generation of young men and women who are going to do it.
People might argue that Kenyan elections are actually based on tribal affiliations. Take, for example, Uhuru Kenyatta amassing massive support in central Kenya and the like. Raila Odinga, who's also your competitor, amassing massive support from the western region and the coast region. So they're basically saying that the elections is simply a consensus of tribal affiliations. What's your take on this?
That's true.
It's very true. Does that make your chances slim?
You have described it well, that NASA and Jubilee are decidedly ethnic. It is the method that they have decided to use to mobilize politically. They are unapologetically tribal warlords.
But it
and
seems
they are
Kenyans are
happy.
embracing it.
I don't know about embracing. I have told you that politics is about narratives, and the narratives that are given to the people are the narratives that animate politics. And my challenge is not that the dominant narrative is an ethnic one. My challenge is we as Kenyans seem to imagine that the dominance of ethnicity in our politics is an act of God. It is not an act of God. It is a design of the tribal kingpins because they have nothing else to offer the people. And therefore, that's what they know and that is what they're doing. That for me is not the problem because we know whom we are dealing with. We are dealing with tribal kingpins, with tribal strongholds who are animating a tribal narrative. My question is, what are we doing about it? You remember when Obama came here, he was very categorical and very specific, and he said, your problem is not ethnicity, okay? Your problem is lack of imagination. You have been offered ethnicity by the tribal warlords, and you're incapable of imagining something else. And in my life as a blogger, those people who follow my blog, I have been a huge, huge campaigner of a new non-ethnic political narrative.
Do you think Kenyans are ready for that?
It doesn't matter what Kenyans are ready for. The only way of knowing what Kenyans are ready for, Jesse, is to give it to them and let them decide whether they are ready for it.
Yeah. If the Ipsos survey is anything to go by, Infotrack rather, they researched and the latest opinion poll actually rates President Uhuru Kenyatta as he's leading with 48%. Raila follows closely with 43%, and the rest, as they usually say, are fighting for 0.1%.
Yeah.
Is this anything to go by? Should this actually scare you?
I don't know how many votes Infotrack has, so it doesn't bother me that much, unless it's something you want us to talk about, but it doesn't bother me that much.
At all?
At all. Why should it? The history of opinion polls is very well known, and the recent history of opinion polls in politics is very well known. So it only would scare somebody who is oblivious to that history, and I'm not oblivious to that history.
Let's move over to your manifesto. It's one-paged.
And
why?
By design, and it's a good question that you've asked me at Kenyatta University. I used to tell my students, if you cannot tell me what you want to tell me in one sentence and explain it in one page, then you have nothing to tell me. Okay? And some of the students didn't like me for it, and they used to dread my classes for it, but that's the truth. Reason number two, I wanted a document that people can send on WhatsApp. I just wanted something that can be WhatsApp from one person to the other. If you have, I saw one of these guys with a 60-page manifesto. You would be lying if you told me you've read it. I haven't. Okay, and I don't know who is going to read it. So because I was interested in engaging the people that I was talking to, and I'm very, very serious and committed to the 10-point plan that we have in that manifesto, I needed a manifesto that can be sent easily from one person to the other on WhatsApp, and therefore it had to be one page.
Okay, let's go into your manifesto. Priority areas: governance and security, education, technology, economy, environment, youth, and women is basically what you're focusing on. How do you intend to achieve the manifesto?
For us, we are very, very clear about what it is that we want to do. Like I told you, we've stated it very, very clearly in one sentence. And the only way that we are going to be able to do that is by getting power. And that's why we're running for office. You cannot do some of these things without having the instruments of government and the resources of government. I do believe that the biggest priority that this country has today is to inspire and invest in the next generation of young men and women. And that is exactly what we intend to do. And that's what we will do.
Presidential, late presidents have actually had tough times. Yes. Recently, President Kenyatta went on air saying, what do I do, when he was put to task on corruption cases. Guys are actually saying that it is not him who's the bad person, it's the people who he's working with. So that might be a challenge for you once or when you actually get into power? How do you plan on cleaning up the whole system that you find there?
Anybody who would like to defend Uhuru Kenyatta needs to use another argument and needs to understand that we are intelligent people. We are not fools, okay? So for somebody to make an argument that he is not the problem, that the problem is the people around him, he has 100% control of the people around him. You don't have 100% control of the people around you. Okay? You have to work with this cameraman, whether you like it or you don't like it. You probably have to interview me, whether you like it or you don't like it. Uhuru has a choice of who sees him, who doesn't see him, who is around him, and who is not around him. The people around him are a reflection of who he is.
It's as simple as that.
The people around me will be a reflection of who I am. And the buck stops with me. If there is a problem, ask me. Don't ask the people around me. And it is actually true. Because if you remember at the height of the Waigoro case, okay, when it's saying blah, 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 I don't know whether you remember the DP, William Ruto, saying, kama iko shida, muulize mimi na rais, wacheni kufuata watu wadogo huko chini. The guy was spot on. Kama iko shida, uliza wao.
And what message do you have to our viewers out there in case they're debating or still lingering on who to vote for, and now they're actually seeing you and maybe they agree to your policies and what you have to offer the youth and women and all Kenyans in general out there? Just give them a word of advice and maybe why they should go for you in this August 8th general election.
Two things. If you want new, if you want change, elect new and elect change. There are no two individuals in this country who are more invested in the status quo than Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga. They are so heavily invested in the political and the economic status quo that for them to succeed, nothing must change. Things must remain the same. For me to succeed and for Kenyans to succeed, everything must change. So if you go for CORD, for NASA, and for Jubilee, and for the tribal kingpins who are in NASA and Jubilee, you are voting for the status quo, and nothing will change. If you want a different country, a new country, if you want transformation, then you have to elect transformation. You have to work with the people who have a different vision for this country. Those people are not and cannot be Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta. I would ask young people to remember that the world is not made evil by the acts of bad men. The world is made evil by the silence of the good people. This is your country, and if you want to change it, change it. The power to change this country is with the people. And I hope that when it comes to August 8th, they will take the challenge of changing this country. I may not know a lot of things, Jesse, but I do know that Raila Odinga, Uhuru Kenyatta, NASA, and Jubilee are not new, and they don't represent change.
If I may quote one Professor Lumumba who said, it's different forests, same monkeys, and that's what Professor Michael Wainaina is actually saying. If you want change, elect new leaders, and he's that person who's saying he's a new leader, he's an independent candidate vying for the presidential seat come the August 8th general election. He was here, he's told us about what he plans for youth, women, and Kenyans in general. It's all about governance, good security, education, economy, and the environment. Thank you so much for coming to KUTV. I surely hope you'll be back soon as we get to talk more, because this time was really limited.
I hope you'll invite me. If you invite me or come, I told you Kenyatta University is my alma mater anytime.
Definitely. Well, we now take a short break. We'll be back with more.